Hi, welcome to Fan vs. Fan Game of Thrones. We're talking Season 5, Episode 9. I'm Peter Counter.
My name's Joel Minty.
Let's get started.
You can swear your allegiance to me now, or you can die.
The god has work to do.
If a man knows what he is, he must fulfill his destiny.
They're waiting for you.
This week in Dorne, people finally solve their problems using words.
As opposed to nudity and murder. Arya found out that in Bravo, selling clams can get you anywhere.
Stannis turned in his Father of the Year card after having it for only 3 episodes.
And people really got their money's worth at the gladiatorial pits.
It's not every day you get to participate in your favorite sport. Alright, so we're going to start off with Dragon Eggs, which is where we talk about some of the callbacks, just in case a few of the details may have eluded you.
So one of the things that happened was we had 20 men break into Stannis' camp and set fire to their food, to their horses, to their people. And we wanted to remind you, we thought it was very important to remember that this is Ramsay Snow and 20 men that he has handpicked from House Bolton, heading up north to thwart Stannis in his attempt to take Winterfell.
Yeah, he doesn't need an army, just 20 men. And I'm assuming he's not wearing a shirt and covered in blood.
Yeah, he probably went in there just like lit up, had the dogs and everything. But he definitely, that's who it is. They never say who it is, because of course they don't know. But we know from episode 508.
You probably remember we talked about Mirren Trent, who's the King's Guard with the beard, who's in Bravos this week. He's the one who's asking for very young prostitutes. We just want to remind you, he is on Arya's kill list, so that's where things are going with that scene.
Yeah, so the point with him, of course, is that she's not just, it's a guy from King's Landing I want to kill. This is one of her people, right? This is one of the people that she's been swearing to kill in her sleep for months.
Yeah.
So then another thing that happened was Shireen is reading a book called The Dance of Dragons, which she explains is about Targaryen brothers fighting and whatnot. And we just want to remind you, this is, of course, the name of the 5th book in George R. R. Martin's series. And we were recalling that about 1-2 episodes prior, they mentioned the term Feast of Crows as well, which is book 4. So they've been name-dropping series books. In the last couple episodes, probably going to say Winds of Winter in the finale next week.
Things are getting pretty meta. Alright, so time to talk pros. What did you like about this episode?
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me was I watched a scene that was set in Dorne that I didn't hate. Which was amazing to me, because I've been very upset with the Dorne stuff throughout the season. It's kind of the biggest stuff that sticks out for me. It just kind of screams of being written for the show as opposed to drawing from the books. And the scenes that the showrunners added back in seasons 1 and 2, they kind of really fit along with what was going on. Yeah. They didn't have to write entire story arcs. And so it's hard, as someone who's read the books, that one of the challenges is it seems very out of place already. So you really they have to be written very tightly to work. And the scenes in Dorne, unfortunately, felt very kind of hammy and silly. And I really liked the scenes in Dorne this week, outside of the hand-clapping scene.
Yeah, the Sand Snakes are still not winning me over. No. I totally agree with you there. But the scene between Prince Doran and Jaime, fantastic.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, and it feels like it's been a long time that 2 adults in this world have actually been like, you know what, let's not have a war about this.
Not do that.
Yeah, wait a minute. We can both gain if we just are okay.
They probably shot that 20 times, and each ending was he poisons him with a scorpion. He stabs him in his sleep. Then eventually they're like, you know which one's really good? This one where they just talk. Why don't we just do that?
Yeah.
So one of the hardest scenes in the entire show, and that left us with our mouths open, was when Stannis puts his own daughter to the stake. What'd you think about that?
Well, I'm normally Team Stannis, and I had to turn in my badge and gun in this episode. I can't stand behind him anymore.
But you know what? Something that I felt, which was really important, was that this is who Stannis is. It's one of those things where, for the last couple episodes, or throughout the season, they've been having scenes where he shows this fatherly passion about how much he loves Shireen. There's a scene in the last episode where we saw him, so episode 507, where he tells Melisandre to get out. I won't listen to you.
Yeah.
And about 5 episodes earlier, he has this talk about how she's his daughter and how when she was infected with grayscale, how much he loved her and looked out for her and all these things.
Yeah, and she teaches him how to hug in that scene.
Exactly. He probably
It's
never done it
adorable.
before.
Yeah.
But this is a guy where this is his personality. He would do whatever it is. This is why the people hate him. This is why he's not king. This is why nobody wanted him on the throne. He doesn't have human-like emotions that are related to things like kinship and family. His daughter has been like sequestered in a tower for most of the show. Or up until Davos goes and starts talking to her. She's not treated well. And while he says those things, there's one thing that you know is stronger than any speech he gives about how much he loves his daughter. That's his desire to sit on the throne.
Yeah.
And more importantly, even to do what he believes is right. Hard line, black and white.
Yeah.
So in this case, as much as the scene was incredibly disturbing to watch, and I have a baby girl, I found it really fulfilling in that it didn't seem as much to me like Stannis when he was being a good dad.
Right.
This is the guy who wants to sit in the throne, and this is why he's not the right choice. He does things that Dany won't do. Dany won't do things like that because they blacken her, and they make her worse. And she realizes that if she does things that corrupts her own soul, she doesn't deserve to sit on the throne.
Yeah.
Stannis doesn't get that. He says, whatever means necessary, it's right. All right, Peter, so tell me, what did you like?
I think I'm not the only person who enjoyed this part. The whole pit fighting scene, but particularly when Drogon came to save the day. I mean, I'm a huge dragon fan in general.
I thought you were saying, I'm a huge Drogon fan. I was picturing you in line at can I get your autograph?
Oh yeah. I have all of the books that I haven't read signed by Drogon.
They're just ripped in half.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Set them on fire.
And one of the great things is that the dragon eggs have been around since the 10th episode of season 1.
Yeah.
And we've seen these, animatronic dragons grow and grow and grow, and they've getting bigger. And they've done some cool stuff, right? They burned a guy who was holding them on the leash, and they did an Apocalypse Now style air raid in season, episode 3 or 4? But you haven't seen one dominate like Drogon did.
Yeah, and then Dany crawled on top and then flew around the stadium and then out into the world. So that was very epic, but also thematically this whole season, Dany's arc has kind of been up and down, but the thing that's really stuck out to me was she's sort of had to choose between wanting to rule the people and then be the Queen of Dragons.
Right.
And she's been kind of walking the line in between, and she's finally made the choice that I've been wanting her to make since episode 2 when Drogon showed up. She chose the dragons.
Right.
Finally. So hopefully her next stop with Drogon is to get Drogon's siblings. Also, Tyrion had this very great moment of revelation, being like, that's my queen. Or, I've made a huge mistake. Don't know what he was thinking. One of those two things.
I think almost everyone in the stadium had that revelation. Oh my god!
We've all made a huge mistake.
Yeah. Right, the dragons. I forgot. We've been so busy finding blacksmiths to make 1,000,000 different harpy masks that we forgot about that gigantic kill machine that's living above us. One of the things that drove me nuts over the course of this time was, much like The Wire, they have to follow the money in Marine. All right, there are thousands of Sons of Harpies we have seen now. Each one has this beautiful ornate mask that looks like it was handcrafted by artisans, and yet they don't know where these are made. There's some warehouse down in the district. There's just stacks of Harpy masks, and if they just kick in the door, they'll be like, guys, this is where it is. This is where the whole gang is getting all of their stuff.
I got the impression that the fighting pit scene was sort of like an Oprah thing where they just found their masks under the seats.
Right.
Because not all of those Sons of Harpies necessarily look like 1%ers as usual. Some of them didn't even have shirts. Meryn Trant constantly asking for younger and younger prostitutes until they gave him a suitably young child seemed a little bit exploitative. It feels like, okay, we know that he's on Arya's kill list.
Yeah, bad list.
And that he's gonna die. I don't need any more reason to feel happy that she's killing him. It felt a little bit like they're like, okay, just in case you were worried that she's gonna kill some rando, this guy's a pedophile.
It's-
Feel good about it.
Yeah, it's true. And of course, he was the one who killed her dancing master back in the 8th episode of the first season. So
Yeah.
it's a much better long burn if you just let that sit. And it's like, in Arya's world, she hasn't forgotten. That happened within like a year, right? So it's still a big deal to her. Whereas to us, we might not quite remember episodes that old. We don't need a new thing. It almost takes away from the old thing. That was the actual motivation for killing him in the first place.
Yeah, she thinks about killing him before bed every single night.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
all we need.
That's all she needs. And,
Yeah.
and it's our job as the audience to keep up. And one of the other things we had to keep up with was her incredibly long journey into this brothel, because there was about 10, 14 minutes of Arya with clams just following people into all sorts of fancy places. And she was always just like looking incredibly out of place as soon as she's off the docks.
Yeah,
just like
staring
creeping
at
around
people.
corners as if she's like a master spy when you're standing in the open and you look way out of place.
Yeah.
For a girl who could theoretically be, who's supposed to be a faceless man or girl, I suppose.
Yeah.
She's not exactly using very much tact.
Right.
In any means.
She's always checking on her bottle of poison.
Yeah,
out in the
exactly. She's like,
open,
oh, there's the
things
guy I'm going
like
to
that.
poison. There's that guy. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to move it from this pouch to this pouch. Okay, it's still there.
Yeah.
Right? It serves to remind the audience that she has poison, but you can do it in a way that doesn't make her look like a complete amateur.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take you to this pit, and they have yet another really awesome, powerful, action-packed sequence, which had everything except for all these moments where the people stopped and looked at each other. And they stopped and they look and they look and they look and they look. And people all kind of stop killing each other for a little bit so they can look at each other and feel passionate. Whether you can stroke a dragon snout and like feel that emotional connection. When people are about to murder you, nobody does that. And so that scene, as awesome as it was, those moments, particularly the one where Jorah comes up and takes her hand like, I'm going to help you. I will kill people to save your life. And she's like, do I trust you? You tattled.
Yeah.
That doesn't fly. You have to film those faster. It's up to the audience to gauge that emotion.
And that's everything for this week's episode of Fan vs. Fan, Season 5, Episode 9. I'm Peter Counter.
My name's Joel Minty.
Now what you can do is follow us on Twitter at Dorkshelf.
And subscribe to the YouTube channel right here.
Yeah, join us next weekend for the season finale of Season 5 of Game of Thrones. Tweet along with us as you're watching with the hashtag FanVFan.
We're both going to be back, and it's going to be amazing.
Kicked him out.